prove about the event, to be like witnesses. You need 2 men to witness something. But Jesus always took with him 3. Because also in Jerusalem, when he went to Gethsemane garden to pray, he took also 3 with them. So 8 of the disciples stayed down in the mountain. 3 of them went up with Jesus after 6 days, because that's how we read in the Bible, after 6 days. That means there was something very important happened 6 days before. 6 days before, Jesus was in Mount Hermon up over there in the north. By the way, north, south, west, and east. Okay? Now, he went up to Mount Hermon in a city called Caesarea Philippi. And we read about Caesarea Philippi. And over there, by the great confession of St. Peter, he announced himself, I am the Messiah. In the beginning, Jesus was aiming on collecting or choosing the 12 disciples. The second one is to make them believe. That's why when we read about the miracle in John chapter 2 in Cana, we read that part of his disciple, I'm not only a rabbi, I am the Messiah. What is the meaning of the Messiah? The anointed one. In the Jewish tradition, we have 3 kings. The king is the one that anointed. King Saul, David, Solomon. This is the time of the monarchic kingdom. After that, the kingdom was split. So from now on, they're still waiting for the anointed one, the Mashiach, the Messiah. Now, in Caesarea Philippi, 1616, the first thing, I am the Messiah. No doubt about that. But used twice in the beginning from the Holy Spirit, because Jesus told him, when he said, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God, Jesus told him, it's not you, it's my Father on the heaven. He's the one who, what is he talking about? He's the Messiah. So how is going to go to the cross? He should say, prepare your swords, we will fight against Rome. This is what we are waiting for. And he started to rebuke Jesus. And Jesus told him, go away from me, Satan. And Peter is not a Satan. Peter is an innocent who used to tell you that. Then the demon also used Peter. What is he talking about? And 2 prophets came for several reasons, but the main reason for them, we have prophets Moses and Elijah. Both of them, they knew God in the Old Testament. When I mean knew, they met God. They hear the voice of the God. They know the nature of God. Moses on Mount Sinai, both of them here came to testify that you are the one that's standing here between us. God is the same God that we already knew in the Old Testament. Okay, so he started to hallucinate. Surrounded the priest, Father Joseph, behind them. It's all from the Crusader chapel. The stairs over here in the entrance is led to the oldest part of the Byzantine chapel. But the Crusaders, they used to build fortresses. You know, the Crusaders, they are an army order. So usually they build big fortresses. We are in the part of the Crusader fortress in the top of the mountain. Remember, the one is here. It's controlling the highway, the Via Maris, controlling all the valleys nearby. And part of the fortress is a church. But this church was built by our friend, what is his name? Barluzzi. Antonio Barluzzi. This is the only relief we have in the Holy Land for him. Antonio Barluzzi, he built this land between the year 1925, 1955. We call it the Chapel of Moses because on the base and the foundation there is a Chapel of Moses. The southern one over here, we have a chapel for Elijah, Prophet Elijah, and the central one inside, we have a chapel for Jesus also inside. You remember in Nazareth when I say, triangle, the eye, and the bird, and Jesus himself. So we have also inside the church 3 chapels for Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit, 3 of them mosaic. And when Barluzzi built the church, on the 6th of August, when we celebrate the Feast of the Transfiguration, when the sun is sunset, the beams of the sun will hit inside the church to this mosaic in front of you in the upper chapel. And it's all from the gold mosaic, and it will be shining. Now, the roof of the church in the beginning was used from the alabaster material because they wanted to give you an expression that you are standing with no sky in the top of you, but unfortunately it was leaking water, so later they covered it with copper. Okay? It's belonged to the Franciscan Roman Catholic order, and there is another church here nearby. In our way out to the bus, you can see that the Greek Orthodox monastery. But where we are having our church over here, this is where we have the ruins from the Byzantine and Crusader church. Okay? Now, we will go up to this mountain, to this balcony. I would like to point it for you 2 things. The Armageddon Valley and Nain, the place or the village where Jesus raised up the son of the widow. Okay? The mountain on the horizon over there, this is the mountain of Gilboa. And from the mountain of Gilboa and the horizon, the faraway mountain, this is Samaria. All the way south to Jericho, this is Samaria. So when Jesus wanted to travel from Galilee, where we are, because this mountain is the border between the lower Galilee and Samaria, when Jesus wanted to travel down to Judea or to Jericho, he used to go to the east, how we are going now with the bus, and to drive all the way down on the Jordan Valley, avoiding going straight to Samaria or going from the west through the land of the Philistines. Okay, so he used to go down on the King's Highway all the way to the Jordan Valley. Now, this is the place where Jesus raised up the son of the widow. You know, I mentioned yesterday 3 people Jesus raised from death. We're going to speak about this event when we go even to Lazarus' tomb in Bethany. Now, this valley in front of us, this is the valley, we call it Jezreel Valley, or the valley of Armageddon, Har Megiddo. To the north, behind these trees, the Tell of Armageddon. So Mediterranean Sea in that direction, and that's the west. Jordan from there, and this is the east. This is the north, Mount Hermon, and Judea is to the south. Okay? Very good. The car is down waiting near the bus.
Oh, by the bus. Okay.
Yes, we'll go together with a taxi to the bus, taking your luggages.
Is the refugee. There's around 3 million Palestinian people living as refugees in other. So from here, he went up to heaven with his chariot, and Prophet Elijah did not die. He went up to the heaven with his chariot, and this is the place where the Israelites entered the Holy Land. Now the Israelites, they reached with Moses after they were lost on the desert for 40 days and for 40 years. Then they came and they stayed here in Mount Nebo. And from there, they crossed the Jordan River and they come towards the Holy Land. Joshua ordered his people, the priests, to hold the Ark of the Covenant, and he also ordered the people to keep 1,000 steps between the Ark of the Covenant and the crowd, the people. And this is the distance where today
Beit Arava, where people used to go and live, and that's why they used to cross the Jordan River from here. That's why John the Baptist used this location. Otherwise, if he chose other location, it might be abandoned from people. But here, people used to cross all the time from east to west the Jordan River to go to Beit Arava. Gonna be here. A couple of our friends would like to dip themselves in the water to be renewing the baptism vows. So just relax for a few time and then we have more.
Aram is the youngest?
Aram is the youngest and George is the museum. But we're going to visit two things: the model of Jerusalem and the room where they kept the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is how Jerusalem looked like on Jesus' time. On Jesus' time, this became the palace where the Roman procurator or the Roman governor came to Jerusalem, and usually when he's coming to Jerusalem, I mentioned that in Caesarea. I say usually he's staying in Caesarea. He have a magnificent palace over there. He don't come to Jerusalem. But when there is a feast, Jewish feast, where all the Jewish people come to Jerusalem, he came to this palace, and also a Jewish king. In Jesus' time, it was King Herod. He also came to Jerusalem. He left Tiberia. He left his palace in Tiberia, and we will see in Jerusalem two important figures. We will see a Roman procurator staying in this palace, and you see the palace over there, the three towers. This is where King Herod stay. So Solomon and Zerubbabel, they don't have this kind of plaza. So he created this plaza, and on the top of that plaza, he built the temple, this one. We still call, I can't stand here by the way, they call entrance was always from the east. The most important location of the temple is the room in the west, the last room in the west, where we call it the Holy of the Holiest. So the western part is the most important location for the temple, and that's will connecting us later with the western wall. The reason that the western wall is the place where Jewish people gather and pray today, it's not because it is part of the temple. It is because the Holy of the Holiest used to be in the west. And when the Jewish people go to the western wall to pray, this is the closest point they can reach to the Holy of the Holiest in the time of the temple. The difference between the first temple and the second temple, that in the first temple they had in the Ark of the Covenant inside the Holy of the Holiest, while in the second temple they didn't have that. Okay, Syria attacked the Holy Land, and they destroyed the northern kingdom, the Samaritan kingdom, and they destroyed the two temples in the northern kingdom. Nehemiah, he built this wall to protect the temple, not this temple, the first temple. So Jerusalem was only on Mount Moriah, which it's expand from the bottom where we have a pool called the Siloam Pool, and reach in the northern part where we have the Bethesda Pool. In the Old Testament, if I'm not mistaken, in Joshua 6, when King David conquered the city of Jerusalem from the Jebusite. The Jebusite is the tribe from the Canaanite. Part of his soldiers were afraid to fight, and he told them, I hate the lame and the blind between you. Later, Jesus in Jerusalem make only two miracles. From all the miracles we know, all the miracles we read in Jerusalem only two miracles. Now Mount of Olive, again, it's not Jerusalem. Mount of Olive is not Jerusalem, it's Mount of Olive. He make two miracles. He healed a lame man in the northern part of the city, which is Bethesda Pool, and he healed a blind man in the southern part of the city, which is Siloam. In the southern part, he met someone near the temple. He was blind. He bring mud, put on his eyes, and he told him, go to the Siloam and wash your eyes. Was between Gehinnom Valley and the Cheesemaker Valley. In the southern and the down over there, we have the pool of the Gihon. Now the Gihon, it's a spring that used to be outside. Today the Gihon is dry spring. We don't have any more water from the Gihon, but the location, the structure of the spring still exists. The tunnel, the Ezekiel tunnel, everything we found, but there is no water. The Gihon spring used to be outside the wall on this slope, okay? Bring the water from the Gihon spring, which is located outside the wall, by a tunnel to inside the wall to a pool. We call it today the Siloam pool. So the reason to have the Siloam pool, to derive the water from the Gihon spring to inside the city in the lowest part of Jerusalem, which is over there in the corner, okay? Now, this is where locals used to live. The humble houses, by the way, this is Mount Zion. This part of the city, we call it Mount Zion. From the building, you see that pyramid tower over there? That's all we call it Mount Zion. When Jesus had the Last Supper with his disciple, he took the Last Supper in that corner of the city. When King David buried, we don't know where exactly. Today, not when I say today, I mean during this week, we're going to visit a memorial site, synagogue, commemorate the death. For example, when we speak about, or when we read in John chapter 5 about Bethesda, that's mean he entered the city from the sheep gate, went up to Bethesda pool, then entered the temple, because while we're reading in John chapter 5, he went to Bethesda, he healed the lame man, and directly he met him after a while in the temple. So he entered the temple from the tribes gate at the northern entrance. When he came through his triumphal entry into Jerusalem, the Palm Sunday, he goes through the Golden Gate. If he's located in the southern part of the city, he will go through Mount of Olives, then from there going all the way down to Gethsemane, cross the Kidron Valley, and go through the city. Okay? Water through the tunnel and bringing the water to inside the city. But today it's dry. Today it's dry, but we still can see, when the water running, you can see the way.
But it looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
There's something called the Jaffa Gate.
Jaffa Gate. Of course, we will even. I'm gonna point it all the gates. But Jaffa Gate today, it is. In this direction of the city, when I say the wall is changing from the Jesus time. You see this wall where the temple, if you go all the way straight, you see where is the two pyramids over there, the two towers. This is where we have Jaffa Gate today.
All right.
Reject the high priest, so they decide to go and live in the desert. They have their own high priest. During the feasts, they used to come and stay in Jerusalem. We believe that, according to their records, that maybe John the Baptist was one of them, and they used to live in this part of the city because they consider Jerusalem is very holy. Even they used to go for, like, if you want to use bathroom, they used to go outside from Zion Gate and use the nature over here. They never go inside the city. Jerusalem is very holy. And we believe that the man, you remember when Jesus told his disciple, you will go to the Siloam and you will see man holding a jar, and you will follow him. He will lead you to the room where we're going to have the Last Supper. We believe that he is from the Essene, because holding a jar, it's a woman job. To bringing the water, it's a woman job. But since the Essenes, they were like monks, they didn't get married. It's a male community, so that's why they go to Jerusalem. They say we're going up to Jerusalem, even if they are coming from Hebron. As example, Hebron is higher than Jerusalem by altitude, but whenever they come to Jerusalem, they say, let's occupy this corner, is very important, and then we can speak. So they says, we are going up to Jerusalem. Today, when any Jewish family wants to come and live in Israel, to emigrate to Israel, they say in Hebrew, אנחנו עולים לארץ Israel. We are going up to Jerusalem, even if they are coming from the Everest mountain. Jerusalem always is higher, and Israel is higher than Israel is higher, and Jerusalem is the highest. So that's why in the Bible we read Jesus went up. We are نحن عُلِيم. So that's why they say Jerusalem is always going up, going up. Even if they're in Hebron, literally they will drive down by their car from 1,200 till 800, but they say we're going up to Jerusalem. Okay? Now, this is a very important location to be. Come closer, come closer. Now, this is how Jerusalem looked like in Jesus' time. This wall was not exist. Now we know that Jesus was crucified outside the wall. The trail of Jesus started on, or like the agony started in Gethsemane garden. From the Gethsemane garden, they brought Jesus to Mount Zion. One of these houses, I'm gonna point it for you, from Mount of Olive, we call it the St. Peter in Gallicanto, or we call it Caiaphas' house. Caiaphas is the high priest. So they brought him to the high priest house. Over there, he stood in front of the trail. And then they kept him for one night. Then, from there, they brought Jesus to the Antonia fortress. Okay? From the Antonia fortress, Pontius Pilate, he said the man is Galilean, so send him to Herod's. Herod stay over here. Herod's built the palace for him, and he have 3 towers. One of them called Mariamne, his wife. The second one is Phasael, his friend, and the third one is called Ikisus, another friend. So these 3 towers we have here. Today one of them is still the foundation, and one of these towers we still have it. I'm gonna point it for you later when we drive nearby. Outside the walls of Jerusalem, and since outside the walls of the city, it was 2 things. It was a burial area, and it was a place where they used to crucify people. But burial area is very important. That's why we can see an empty tomb waiting Jesus near the Golgotha. It's an quarry. According to Jewish tradition, cemeteries can be only outside the cities till today. According to the Jewish law, entering the cemetery, that means you are entering an impure land, which means you have to purify your body when you leave out. We're going to. In reality, when we go up to Mount of Olives, we will be standing on this location and looking to the city from this direction. But instead of seeing the temple on the same location, this is very important sentence, listen to me again. When we go to Mount of Olives, and when we will stand on the top of Mount of Olives, on the viewpoint of Jerusalem, on the same location where you see this building, you're going to see the Golden Monument. Because the location is important more than the building. Why? The temple were built on the top of a very important rock, which is the threshing floor that was bought by King David. And the reason that King David bought that threshing floor from Araunah the Jebusite, it is because this is the place where Abraham bind his son Isaac. So the rock is important and not the building. That's why today Israel, or we, did not build the 3rd temple, because the location is already occupied by other religion and other nation. So the rock, and you remember I say 3 buildings different by shape. This is a building of gold and marble. The first building was few stones and only wood. So the building is not important, the location is important. The location today is occupied by the Jewish people according to their belief. they have something called the night journey. And on the night journey, Prophet Muhammad, he came from Saudi Arabia on a mysterious animal called Al-Buraq, looked like a horse and lion, in the same time having wings. He climbed on that animal and he came from Saudi Arabia to the southern part of the temple. He tied this animal near a wall which today called Al-Buraq wall. He entered over there to this rock and he stood on the rock. This is according to the Islam tradition, and that's what it's written in their book, in the Quran. And he elevated up to heaven and he met God and he received the 5 daily prayers from God, and of course all the prophets were waiting for him here. Now, if you read this about in the Bible, or if you go to Google and read about it, it's a little bit very like a funny story, because in the beginning he got like a 50 prayer in the day. Then he met Moses in the way, and Moses told him, no, you have to bargain. So he went back. Yes, it's a funny, but that's what's written. And you know, God never make mistakes. If I want you to pray 50 times a day, that means you won't have time to go to bathroom. If you count 50 on 24 hours, 15 minutes every prayer, you won't have time to eat or to go to bathroom. But Moses said, no, 50 is too much. So he'll go back, he come back with 45. He says, they destroy the temple of Jupiter, but they didn't build nothing on this plaza. They just left the plaza and they built the church on the Golgotha. They built the Holy Sepulchre Church. When the Islam came, they entered the city. This location was ruined, nothing over there. So they asked about the Bishop Sophronius invite their Khalif to pray inside the Holy Sepulchre Church, and that means there was no mosques in Jerusalem. Is to throw a rock. If it's come in front of them, they're afraid and come back. If they were going left, you throw it here on the left. From the echo, they go right. You throw it off rock. And he throw it in front of his sheep. And he heard an echo. Something broken. So he came from a distance and he see a cave. When he threw the rock, it came on a piece of rock, plastered, and make a hole. So next day, he bring his cousin. So whispers is on, and again, if you see on this sign, it's written Mary Spring. In Hebrew, written Ma'yan Maryam, and in Arabic, Ain al-Adra Maryam. So this is a spring that's running since long time, and it is not for drinking water. You can touch the water, no problem. And the traditions say that the visitation happened here, near the spring. Another tradition say that the visitation that they met, when they meet each other, it's happening up in the mountain. But another question you might ask me, like why there is a mosque in the top of this location? Why there is a mosque in Mary Spring? Because in Islam, they also commemorate Mary. They even have a whole verse in the Quran about Mary, and even in the Quran it's mentioned Mary is the holiest woman on earth. Okay? By the way, also in Quran they believe that our Lord Jesus Christ, he was he's a word from the God. He don't have a physical father. He's a word. On the trip, on these stairs, slowly. We're not in a rush. I'm gonna wait. Even I am tired. If you need a pull, just ask me. I will do that. A book, the books that was rejected from the church, and sometimes the church adopted some stories from the apocrypha book, like in Saint James Bible. It's an apocrypha book. It's Bible written by James, and we call him the brother of God. And I will go to the word of brother of God. Just hold your horses, and baby inside, and then the rock were closed till the soldiers came here, killed the other babies, and then they continue to other villages. First of all, when we go to Bethlehem, you will see that this location is far from Bethlehem, which means the massacre 2018 years ago, it wasn't only in Bethlehem, it was in all the Judean hills. Adopted another tradition from the Apocrypha book. It's about, because when we go in the upper church, you will see that the altar, the decoration ashes, and when she became woman, she have to leave the temple, and she have no parents. So, that's what we read in the Apocrypha book again. They gathered the widows of Israel, the widow men of Israel, and Joseph were one of them. Will take care of him and his children. He was a widow. That's why we read sometime. I don't know how you don't ask me this question. How long time it took Mary or anybody to come from Nazareth to Jerusalem? Usually, first of all, they don't first. John the Baptist and Jesus. Now, the angels appeared for Zacharias when he was in the temple, and that's the day of atonement, September. When Mary was announced, the Annunciation happened after 6 months. First fresco on the wall, when they declared Mary to call the Monotokos, which means Mother of God. It was called Christokos, Mother of Christ, then they called Mother of God. And here when they announced Mary, the Queen of the Church, and in this second fresco you can see all the people are looking towards Mary, and there is only one man is looking to us. Can you see him? Can? In this fresco, the second one, in this second icon. The floor of the church is from different kind of birds and fruits, which mean Christianity gather.
And they all marveled. And his mouth was opened immediately, and his tongue was loosed, and he spoke, blessing God. And fear came on all that dwelt around about them. And all these sayings were heard abroad throughout all the hill country of Judea. And all that heard them laid them up in their hearts, saying, What then shall this child be? For the hand of the Lord was with him.
Thank you. So, this is the second house. Under or inside the church, we have another cave, Byzantine period, and a wine spring, a wine press, wine press, winery, and also an olive press, because olive and wine in the mountains of Judea. Okay, From here, and of Saint Francis, the one with the garment over here. And whenever we see this symbol, we know that the church is belonged to the Franciscan, okay? Saint Francis of Assisi, he got something what we call it the stigmata, the sign of the nails on his hands and like. Now the cave is from here, please, all the way straight. You can go and see the place where, according to church tradition, John the Baptist was born. Bethlehem, house of bread. Beit Saida, house of the fishermen. Beit Sahur, house of the night watch, of the shepherds, but literally night watch, shepherds, Sahur. And it is in the lower part of Bethlehem. Where is Bethlehem? On the mountain over there, that's Bethlehem. The angels appeared to the shepherds in Luke chapter 2. The angels appeared for the shepherds when Jesus was born in the same night. From here, I can point it for you where Jesus was born exactly. If you look at the top of the mountain, there is several bell towers, but there is one of them with a long window, bell tower. Can you see the bell tower over there? This is the Nativity Church. So it was, or let's say it is a walking distance for the shepherd to reach. God wanted the first people to go up and to see Jesus in the mangers as shepherds. Why not the kings first? Or why maybe traders or priests or anybody else? Why shepherd exactly? What is Jesus symbol for us? He is
shepherd.
He is the lamb. And till today, if you want to buy a lamb or a goat or a sacrifice, you will ask the shepherd, and he will identify which is the best from his flock, and he will say, take that one, take this one, take this one. So, shepherds were the first people went up to witnesses the Lamb of God, the sacrifice. Then they were followed by kings. But since he is the Lamb, shepherds were the first people to identify this sacrifice. Okay? The church, Antonio Barluzzi, built in the shape of 5 tents, because those people used to live in tents, but also they had caves. Beit Sahur, it is low of Bethlehem, most of the city from chalk stone. It is easy to carve. So most of these caves that we have over here, it is man-made cave, and it is built in the top of the cave that we have a Byzantine ruins. And they read already the Bible in Hebrew. Here there is a Bible from Luke chapter 2. There is 3 fresco. One of them is over there. Wait a minute. سام ارجع لك شوي صغيره بس انا عم بشرح. باي. We see 3 fresco over here. This is the shepherds in Beit Sahur with the cave, and you see in the mountain there is a light coming from the cave, another cave where Jesus was born. Here the shepherds went up to see the baby in the manger, and they came back very happy, glorying God in their way back. Now, this typically a house for the people who used to live. Inside the cave, they have a corner where they keep their animals, chicken, hen, rabbits. One of these holes will be the oven where they will bake the bread, or where they keep the bread after they bake it outside sometime. Here we can see this is a wheat mill, hand wheat mill. This is a home wine press, or for olive. These are homemade, and usually they used to bring a basket and hold the basket over here and put the food in this basket. In this case, no ants or nothing can reach the food. The parents sleep in the entrance of the cave to secure the children and the animal. And this were not used only for the shepherd. Later, they used the caves as stables. But in the beginning, this size cave can use for living room. They will host their guests in this cave. This is the house. This is the house. This is the living room. This is the kitchen. This is where sleep at night. This is when they gather all the day. They also will have a pit inside the cave to keep the wheat and the grains. And bathroom will be somewhere out here in the nature. Now please watch your head when you go over here. You have to watch your head, and there is also a step.
Flexibility is my
Okay, now we are standing in the Nativity Church. When Queen Helen came to Holy Land in the year 333, she built 3 churches in the beginning. Nativity Church was the first, and it's commemorate the birthplace of Jesus Christ. Come closer, let's keep the exit open and the entrance. The second church, it was the Holy Sepulchre Church in Jerusalem to commemorate the burial and the resurrection, and also the Golgotha. And the third one was the Church of Ascension. Now all the churches in the Holy Land were destroyed in the year 614, unless this church. Why? Because you know the story of the 3 wise men. Those 3 kings, they came from east, from the kingdom of Persia at that time. So in 614, when the Persians reached this church, they found in one of the old mosaic on the floors that it's not exist anymore. A mosaic commemorates the 3 wise men with their dressing from Persia. So when the Persian soldiers reached here and they saw that mosaic, they walls and pillars from the Byzantine period. So from our visit till now, from the first day, I was only showing you small ruins from Byzantine churches. Here I can show you a full intact church from the Byzantine period. Now, the baptistry is behind me over there. People use the Gentile, they could come and stop over here, stand over here, and look towards the church. If they wanted to enter, they had to be baptized first. So from entrance, they will go to baptism, and then they can go to church. Now this is one of the 2 or 3 churches in the Holy Land that's still under the control of 3 main churches. Greek Orthodox, this is where we are located now. Behind me is the Armenian church, and behind this wall we have the Roman Catholic, the Franciscan church. And these churches they are following rule called the status quo, and the status quo is giving the rights between the churches. Each one of these lamps each centimeter of this church were divided between these three denominations. And this, okay? Now, it was not so hard for Queen Helen to identify the place where Jesus was born. Why? The Roman saw that there is a group of people, where we call them the Judeo-Christo, the first followers of Jesus, used to come here and to pray. You see how big it is, but it's divided between two sections: Roman Catholic, Franciscan, and the Greek Orthodox. But we will go to the Greek Orthodox because the Star of Bethlehem, which commemorate the real place of the birth, it's in that section, okay? But here also we have the Grotto of Saint Jerome, where he spent 30 years of his life translating the Bible, the Vulgate. And the one to the left, or the first one on the left, it is commemorate the name of the church. So if you see that icon having resurrection, you see this is the Church of Resurrection. John the Baptist, this is the Church of John the Baptist. Virgin Mary, so this is the Church of Virgin Mary. Over there we have the icon of the birthplace. It's our right to pray over there twice in the year. So, for our group, in the top of the entrance, and what do you see under this of the cave of Saint Jerome, which it's belong to the Greek Orthodox and the other two denominations, but according to tradition, this is the authentic place where we're gonna see the silver star with the 14 point commemorating the 14 generation between Abraham, David, Jesus. Church, this icon was settled here, and it's a gift from the Ethiopian. So if you touch the star, you go down and visit the manger, and then wake me in the back.
Okay, thank you. Come please, be closer, thank you.
ما في حدا كتير، خلينا نزور براحتهم. فاضي الكنيسة خلص. Yes, you can touch the star, you can take pictures, no problem, and then wake me in the back. And visit the manger down. Yes, go down, visit the manger. لقيت جماعتك؟ جماعتك أجو؟ Yes.
Yes, that's the birthplace.
So this is the birthplace, and the manger is down there, and in front of the manger we have the chapel of the three wise men. And down is the manger, and wait me in the back.
Over here?
Yes, after you visit the manger. In front of the No, فوق مش فوق.
مش داخل السياحة.
مش And the hand will expand to right and left. Okay? No problem. I was saying that this is not the real size of the cave. It was divided between Catholic and the Greek Orthodox. And the gate here, this door, the keys only with the Franciscan Church. They came through procession to pray here. In the past, the entrance was behind me. Today, the entrance from here and there to have the shape of the head, leg, and Jesus on the cross. Okay? Would you like to sing a small song over here as one group? Holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round John Virgin, Mother and Child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. This is the main basilica And this is where we have the Mass, Christmas Mass. They broadcast this Mass through all over the world. If once you have seen the Mass, it's over here. This is the Basilica where you see the Mass. We have the Patriarch, and they invite the